Hi, I'm Tess,
And I'm Sarah.
and this is the Basically Bookish podcast.
Today, we thought it would be fun to share our 2025 TBR list with each other and with you.
We both picked a handful of books that are at the top of our TBR to discuss, though I'm sure we'll end up reading more than the books we chose for this episode.
I had a really hard time paring it down. We'd also love to hear from you. What are you planning on reading this year?
If you find this episode to be entertaining or informative, please like, rate, review, and subscribe. It's a free way that you can help support the podcast.
Social media links and everything else you might want to know will be linked in the description.
So let's get into it.
Okay, so let me bring up my first book then. I wonder how many of these we have overlapped.
I know, same.
The first book that I'm excited about is an ongoing series by Danielle L. Jensen. The first book is named A Fate Inked in Blood, and the little summary of the story is a shield maiden battles to unite a nation under a power-hungry king while fighting her growing desire for his fiery son. And it is Norse mythology, which would be my first Norse book that I've ever read. The second book is called A Curse Carved in Bone, and it will come out May 13th of this year. So it's an ongoing series. I thought it would be kind of exciting to get caught up before the second book comes out.
That's a great idea. I've actually heard of this book and I feel like I've heard good things. So maybe I'll have to join you on that. It sounds a little spicy too, like a
Yeah, I think
little,
so. Yeah,
yeah, ill-fated love.
I think so.
Okay, so the first book that I've got on my TBR, my priority TBR, is Onyx Storm.
Yes.
And of course, we have to mention Onyx Storm. It just came out. Sarah and I have read both Fourth Wing and Iron Flame, and we are planning to do a deep dive on those books eventually after we get through Throne of Glass. We're still working through that series and want to give it our full attention. But we are thinking that we're probably going to deep dive Onyx Storm before we go back and do those other two books just so we can live react and be part of that discussion because we're kind of having FOMO right now.
Right. I agree. Yeah, I really want to get into it.
So I'll just read the summary that I have here. Onyx Storm is a fantasy novel by Rebecca Yarros that is the third book in the Empyrean series. It's a thrilling adventure that takes place in a military college for dragon riders. The story follows Violet Sorengale as she searches for allies, information, and dragons to help Navarre and Peromiel in a war.
Yeah, it's great so far. And we love our Z Daddy.
Yeah, and we are, it's the third book in this series, so the world has kind of been built and now it's just a ton of action. I feel like I'm on like a complete ride right now.
Right.
Oh, yeah,
Yeah.
so that's definitely at the top of the priority TBR list.
Yeah, I agree. That's gonna be a great one. The second one I have on my list is Quicksilver by Callie Hart. It is also part of an ongoing series, so I just wanted to be involved in the books as they come out. I think that that's really fun. And so the first book is called Quicksilver. The second book will be called Quicksilver 2, and it will come out in November of this year.
Okay.
So we've got a little bit of time if we want to read that one before the second one comes out. Quicksilver is about a girl with strange powers transported to a land of ice and snow where she must navigate a centuries-long conflict between the Fae and humans, all while trying to survive and make it back home. So it seems like it's right up our alley. I've heard good things about it, but I don't know too much about it. When I was looking it up, I saw words like vampires come up. So
That's always fun. Love a vampire.
I haven't had one of those in a while.
This one I've seen a lot of the fan art for and
Oh,
seen kind of the fandom, which
yeah.
is really exciting. But I also feel like I've seen really mixed reviews on this one. So
Interesting.
I would like to give it a go myself too.
Yeah.
I'll have to add that on. Also, if any of you watching this or listening have read any of these books or series, please let us know in the comments. We'd love to know what you've read so far and what you're liking. I guess the second book that I've got on my TBR is The Cruel Prince. And I have been watching a lot of Carrie Can Read lately. And she speaks pretty highly of this one. So I'm really curious about it. It's The Cruel Prince by Holly Black. And I've heard great things about her work too. So I'm very, very curious. The synopsis that I have is The Cruel Prince is a young adult fantasy novel by Holly Black that tells the story of Jude Duarte, a mortal girl who's forced to live in the fairy world of Elfham. The book is the first in the Folk of Air series.
And it's a completed series.
That I'm not positive.
It's always nice when the series is completed.
Right. Okay, so yes, it's a trilogy. So it is finished and it's only 3 books. So that seems pretty easy to commit to. It is YA, so I'm not expecting any spice scenes. But honestly, if the story is written well enough and the character development is there and there is some sort of like romance, I think I'm fine with that.
Yeah, 100%. The next one on my list is actually YA as well.
Perfect. First, really quick, have you heard of Cruel Prince?
I have, yeah. I have to be honest. The reason that this TBR came together for me is because of the TikTok ban. I had been saving books on there for years. And so I spent the day of the ban writing down 68 book names that I had collected over the years. And I had to basically pare it down for the TBR. And Cruel Prince was on there as well, holding my.
All the books we saved in the great book ban of 2025 that lasted 13 hours.
I know. I ran out of there with books and music as if I was a refugee with my hair on fire. I was running as fast as I could to just preserve all of that community that we had built.
Yeah. So the next one you got is a YA, you said?
Yes, yeah. Next one on my list is Spark of the Everflame by Penn Cole, and it is also part of a ongoing series. The fourth book will come out in 2026, so we have 3 books already. The series follows a young woman who discovers her heritage and enters a world of magic, danger, and romance, fighting against injustice and oppression while navigating the treacherous waters of royal politics and finding true love. In the description, it says that the book will appeal to fans of the plot-heavy, character-driven romantasy books such as ACOTAR, Throne of Glass, From Blood and Ash, Guild, Shadow and Bone, and The Serpent and the Wings of Night. So it seemed like it was right up our alley, and again, part of an ongoing series, but it is young adult as well, which I'm excited about.
That one I would be interested in reading too. One, because the synopsis sounds great. And again, I've seen the hype around it. But also, I think that that's the next series that Fantasy Fangirls is following.
Oh, is it?
Yeah, and I really enjoy the way that they cover books. So it'd be fun to read it and then see how they interpret things and the way that they pull theories and everything like that together. So
Yeah.
I need to add all of these to my own TBR.
I know I was going to say everything that's on your list is on my list as well now.
All right, so moving on, my next one that I have in here is One Dark Window.
Yes.
So you know the book.
I do, yeah.
First of all, the cover art alone has me intrigued. It's
Yes.
beautiful, and I'm very, very curious. One Dark Window by Rachel Gilling tells the story of Elspeth Spindle, a young woman living in the misty, magical kingdom of Blunder, who is haunted by a powerful ancient spirit she calls Nightmare, trapped within her mind. As she navigates a dangerous quest to cure the land from dark magic, she must confront the growing influence of Nightmare while also dealing with forbidden attraction to a mysterious highwayman, all while uncovering secrets about her own dark past and the true nature of the magic within her. I'm in.
Yeah, that sounds great. I love when the name of a character is something really blanket, like Nightmare.
Right.
Hmm.
Yeah, it's kind of giving me Lasher.
Oh, interesting.
I don't know. You know what I'm talking about?
No, I've never heard it.
Um, it's a series by Anne Rice
Ah,
called The
yeah.
Mayfair Witches.
Okay.
And then Lasher is like this like dark spooky figure that follows all of the women in the family. Anyway, Nightmare is kind of giving
Yeah.
that sort of a vibe, but I'm
Yeah.
very curious.
Yeah. Yeah, that sounds like a good one. I've heard of it before. And actually, it brings me to my next book on my list,
Perfect.
which is not an ongoing series, but is a trilogy. This one is called the Poppy War Trilogy by
Ooh.
R.F. Kuang. And I've seen some great reviews of it. It seems like people really like the main character. It originally came out in 2023. The series concluded in 2023. The book is about Rin, an orphan who discovers shamanic powers, attends an elite military academy, and must master her abilities to prevent a devastating war. So I don't know if there's much of a romantasy spin to it. It's just something that I've heard a lot about.
I've also heard very good things about this book. So, my next one that I have is When the Moon Hatched. And this, I know it's part of a series.
It's on my list too. It's on the
Oh,
16th.
perfect. Okay.
Yeah, Sarah Parker.
Yeah. So do you know how many books are out and if
I
it's
don't. I don't
okay?
know how many were out on that one, but I do think it's a completed series.
All right, so I've got the summary here. When the Moon Hatched by Sarah A. Parker is a fantasy romance novel about an assassin and a dragon rider who discover their entwined destinies. The story is set in a world of magic, dragons, and mysterious creatures.
Oh, that sounds good. That's a
Yeah.
good one to follow up after Onyx Storm.
Oh, absolutely. And after, Assassin's Blade,
Right. Yeah, right.
Selena meets Zayden. I feel like that
Right.
would be disastrous.
I know. The walls would come down
I
around
mean,
it.
I feel like she would not take his shit. Like neither one of them would like tell each other anything.
Right. This back and forth, like he won't tell me what he feels in his heart. He would never. He
She
would
would
never.
never.
Okay. Like I said, I had to like pare it down a little bit and I was trying to guess what books you were gonna say. And so I took some off of the list. My last one on the list is a classic. It's not like a current book, but I felt like it was something that gets referenced a lot in other books. And so I thought it could be interesting, but I do have other romantasy books if you'd prefer I mention
No,
them.
no, I want to know. Yeah.
Okay, so this book I've always wanted to read, and I heard that it's quite a doozy. It's Crime and Punishment by Dostoevsky. So definitely a right turn on this one. Crime and Punishment follows the mental anguish and moral dilemmas of Rodion, an impoverished ex-student in St. Petersburg who plans to kill an unscrupulous pawnbroker, an old woman who stores money and valuable objects in her flat. He theorizes that with the money he could liberate himself from poverty and go on to perform great deeds, and seeks to convince himself that certain crimes are justifiable if they are committed in order to remove obstacles to the higher goals of extraordinary men. So I thought it was just an interesting discussion about right and wrong and furthering the agenda of extraordinary people.
It feels
Good.
very timely.
Very salient, yes.
It feels like it might just end up on a list of some kind.
Right, exactly. It's free basically everywhere you can find it because it's, been out of copyright for a while. And so it's a book that's often referenced and a lot of the great authors alive today read it and it's referenced throughout their books.
I love it. I could possibly be there with you, but I'm a little bit intimidated. I think that if I
Yeah.
just download it on Kindle, it helps because all the books are just this big.
Yeah, I don't think it's very long at all, actually.
Okay. Oh, okay. I thought that
Yeah.
was one of the massive.
I don't think so. Let me see. Yeah, 492 pages is
Oh,
the
that's not unreasonable at
the
all.
Random House printing from 1965. Yeah. And then
Okay.
it's available as an audiobook
Got it.
as well.
Yeah, I'll join you on that journey.
Maybe, yeah. If we get there. Two books that got cut off just because I didn't know how much time we would have this year is The Book of Asriel by Amber V. Nicole. It is, I believe, about vampires as well. The little synopsis is Diana has sold her soul to a monster to save her sister.
Ooh,
And it's part of a trilogy. The next book comes out May 27th of this year. And so it's an ongoing series as well.
very nice. I've heard of that one as well.
Yeah, and another book that I had on there that I thought might come up was The Six of Crows by Lee Bardugo.
Yes, that's another one that Carrie can read references quite
Oh,
a bit.
okay.
So I will definitely join you on that one. But I think that that's another series.
It is. That's right. I think it's got like 3 books in it.
Yeah, I would love to read that one.
Yeah, I've heard a lot of great references for that.
Yeah, I've heard a lot of good things about Lee Verdugo, so that could be a great way to kind of get into that world and see if her writing style vibes with us too.
Yeah.
So I will take us on one last sharp left turn. Both of us have already started listening to this book, and both of us already have it's got a chokehold on us. But I added it to our list, or I added it to my list before we started listening to it, and that is a fanfic called Manacled. You've probably heard of Manacled, and if not, let me tell you a little bit about it.
Please do.
So, Manacled is by Sen Lin Yu. The synopsis is Harry Potter is dead. In the aftermath of the war, in order to strengthen the might of the magical world, Voldemort enacts a repopulation effort. Hermione Granger has an order secret lost but hidden in her mind, so she is sent as an enslaved surrogate to the High Reeve until her mind can be cracked.
So I wasn't ready for these characters to grow up. I don't think I went into it knowing exactly what it was going to be about. And so by the time I got to chapter 6, I'm only maybe 12 chapters in at this point. I was shocked and had to
So
take.
I'm on chapter 31. It is completely consuming my life.
I love it. We're listening to it every night.
There's a lot of hype and lore around this book.
I think it was originally published on Wattpad, but then
Okay.
eventually
Yeah.
went on to AO3. Yeah.
Yes. So I'm not sure about the morality of buying a copy of this from Etsy versus from
Right.
the author. I know that she's also going to be re-releasing this book, but with all of the names changed,
Right.
because obviously Harry Potter isn't her original IP.
So I think that book comes out in November of this year, which is why they took it off of AO3 so that it could be reworked and the names could be changed within there. We have the original copy that has the names in there. We thought it would be a great way to prepare for the release that comes out in November and just sort of make comparisons between them.
But yes, what trip.
Yeah, it was definitely not what I was expecting at all. I think the writing is beautiful. The author did a great job. I'm really excited for her that she's now getting formally published with it. And I'm excited to see what the differences will be, what areas will be considered copyright that she wouldn't be allowed to utilize. And, we're not familiar with the fanfic culture. If you want to educate us on that at all, we'd love to hear from you and tell us your thoughts on what you thought of the book and if you think we should cover it.
Yeah, I also really appreciated the trigger warnings in there. It is a very, very, very dark book. So I think Harry Potter Handmaid's Tale.
Very graphic, even more so than Handmaid's Tale.
Right. So go into that prepared if you are planning on looking this up for yourself. But that is the last on my list. Now we want to hear from you. Have any of the books we discussed today piqued your interest? Have you read any of them already? We'd love to know your thoughts.
And we'd love to feature emails from you in future episodes. Email us at basicallybookishpod@gmail.com and let us know what books you recently DNF'd and why, or what books you have on your TBR and why.
If you've enjoyed this episode, please don't forget to subscribe and leave a 5-star review on Apple, Spotify, or wherever you're listening. We're a brand new podcast, and your reviews help us out so much.
Thanks for spending part of your day with us. If you've made it all the way to the end of this video on YouTube, leave us some sort of space theme emoji to confuse anyone who hasn't made it this far.
Join our book club by subscribing to Basically Bookish Pod YouTube channel or follow us on Instagram and TikTok under the same name. And until next time,
Happy
happy
reading.
reading.